In our last episode,
We must never just get along.
That's our friend Javier. This is gonna be golden. Let's bring him in.
now let's see what these idiots come up with.
Awesome. Good to be here with you guys.
Good to have you.
It's all right to have you. Nah, it's good, man. It's good.
I
It's
don't
great.
know. I don't know. I don't know exactly where you guys.
Well, we were talking about brotherhood, fatherhood.
Yeah.
Fatherhood, yeah.
And obviously, as you told the audience, you are now a father, or I'm sure you've already mentioned it to them before. But
Not yet. We were going to talk about that next episode. but-
Thanks for.
Oh, I pulled the plug. No, I guess I don't know. I'm curious. I wanted.
No, well,
to share
it
as well.
it all started with the Bible verse, the Ephesians. Do not provoke your children to anger, but teach them in the ways of the Lord. Or I'm just paraphrasing. And then we quoted Blessed Pierre Giorgio Frassati, and what did they call him?
Frassati the.
Frassati the hottie,
No,
because he was a stud, right?
No, but I guess I'm curious to get a perspective from you, because I know obviously.
Well, we only
Adrian
gave
and
that
I-
perspective, so we want to.
yeah?
So-
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
no,
yeah,
I just-
because
okay.
I feel like a lot of people look at it as a burden, that big responsibility that we get as fathers, and obviously more about fatherhood than I do, because I'm a brand new dad, and I've been kind of doing the daddy thing for a bit with my nephew James.
Yeah, you have.
I've
That's
changed
true.
diapers. I've
Definitely.
held him when
I've
he
seen it,
was, crying uncontrollably in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I got up and I didn't even tell him, shh. I was like, go ahead, man, let it all out. Let it all out. And just how peace is contagious,
Yeah.
and then how that's our responsibility as fathers, man. When the world is filled with chaos and all that nonsense, chaos is contagious, but so is calm, which is what we're called to be, that pillar of strength. That pillar of strength to not just our own children, but to each other as men. We owe that to each other.
Indeed. No, I guess the question that I had for you was, how did you feel in that first moment, or what thoughts or what feelings? I know if you could even express them, the first time you held your baby girl after she came out. I'm sure you were there and you saw her come out and all that. But that moment, what exactly did you feel, or if you could put that into words, that moment?
I understood the word joy. I understood what joy is. And I had been praying for her since she was the size of a blueberry. That's when we found out that we were pregnant. And I was so excited. And we had been praying novena after novena and just rosaries and what have you. So to see her come out after pushing for the whole night. And once I saw the top of her head, because she has a ton of hair, man.
Yeah, she cried.
Just involuntary tears. And then when she came out, and I forgot what I told her, like the baby, and then she just turned, and she was born eyes wide open, and I said something to her. I said something like my sweet girl or my sweet love, something like that. I'm getting choked up, but whew, hold on. She looked at me like, hey, like I recognize that voice. That's the voice that used to pray with me. So yeah, joy. I felt joy. And I know the nice butterflies and all that's gonna die down eventually. But it's nice, I'm enjoying it while I have it, because I know that my responsibility is to teach her the ways of our Lord. And it's pretty cool, because before we press record, you were talking about somebody going to your classroom and saying certain things that are not in alignment with our faith. And then you took the handle, like you regained control, and then after class, what is it that you said? That something about he apologized. I'm sorry for whatever. What do you say?
No, I just told him that I corrected the error that he made in my class. So
And you quoted the catechism.
The catechism. Yeah, I quoted
Yeah,
the
dude.
catechism. Yeah. But no, that's awesome, man. I just wanted to hear that from you because I mean I'm sure you probably shared it, but because it you know you hear the often people saying and men that they want to be fathers to little boys. They want to have a boy. As they say, the quote says, "Every man wants to be a father to a boy, but every man should be or doesn't realize that he needs to be a father to a little girl." Not to say that if you don't have a little girl, you don't have a little boy, you're inadequately or you're not complete as a father, right?
You
But
haven't collected all the genders. Or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
gender collector. Like,
Yeah.
shut up.
yeah, but it brings out a different side of you, a little girl and,
Oh, yeah.
and a little boy, but that's also could be a misunderstanding of that too, right? That could be misconstrued. I know when I was gonna have my kid, I thought it was gonna be a little girl, or I guess I was expecting a little girl, but then when I first saw the ultrasound and saw how it moved, I was like, okay, this is a little boy, but there was something inside of me that I didn't want it to be a boy. I didn't want it to be a boy because I didn't feel like I could father a boy. I felt like, okay, a little girl, I could do that. I could protect her. I could be, the protector. I could, I don't know. I could love her, But a little boy, I didn't feel like, not necessarily I couldn't protect him, but that I couldn't be a father to him because I never had a father that teach me how to be a father. And I wouldn't know how to love him because I would be like, well, am I touching him too much, like hugging him too much, or being too affectionate with him too much, kissing him too much? A little girl, you don't think about that. You get the little girl, you kiss her, you hug her. You don't have those thoughts. At least for me, like I wouldn't have those thoughts. But a little boy, you're like, oh, it's a little boy. You can't be that affectionate with them. You can't kiss them. You can't, because this is the culture. This is how we grew up, the machismo. So I didn't know. I was just like, I don't know. Can I be a father to a boy? And it was something that I really struggled with. But, when my son was born, for me, going, your moment when you saw him, obviously when he came out, I was crying. My son, when he was born, unfortunately, he had a fever. So they had to rush him to the, ICU. And I'll never forget that because he came out, but he was calm, and they put him in a little incubator type thing, and then they were gonna rush him over, and I remember I told him, I looked at him, he has his eyes open, he's looking at me, I was like, it's okay, buddy, I'm right here, and I'll never forget this. He reached out and he grabbed me by my finger, and oh man, I started crying.
Yeah.
And he grabbed me by my finger, and I told the nurse, I'm like, I'm going. I'm like, she's like, no, you just stay here. I'm like, no, I'm going. I'm going. I'm going to go all the way. I mean, don't worry. I'm not going to get in your way. I'll let you hook him up, do whatever he needs to do, but I'm going with them. I'm going to walk with you all the way. She's like, okay, that's fine. Just come. And so I go with them, and they, I'm there with them, and they hook him up and stuff. And in that moment, it's just like there was a breakthrough where I realized, like, what the heck? He's my child. Why was I freaking out about how am I going to love him? How am I going to love him the same way I would love my daughter, right? Not always the same way, right? Because you have to acknowledge that one is a boy and one is a girl, and they're different natural characteristics that how you should talk to one, talk to the other, etc. How you should, kind of, I don't know, discipline them. Yes, the same, but using the right verbiage, right? For what I mean. You still have to differentiate. Yeah. And I, as un-PC as that sounds, being a teacher at an all-boys school now, which again, talking about healing, man, like talking about getting healed from how am I going to talk to a boy? How am I going to discipline a boy? Now I'm around a bunch of guys at an all-boys school where I teach at, and I'm constantly, learning how to be a father, right? I'm not saying I'm the father to these students, but just interacting with them, how to discipline them and interact with them.
Well, you're a father figure to them because they see you every day, 5 days
totally.
a week, or I don't know how with the COVID restrictions how
I see
your
them every
school
day.
is, but you see them every day. You're a big part of their day. Yeah. and therefore a big part of their life.
Yeah, totally.
And I was just sharing earlier in this recording that when my prayer life is not 100%, I notice that there's a big difference in the way that I perform at work and in the disrespect that's directed towards me. Because I'm 5'4", dude. So they always look for a certain weakness, and I don't look like a weak man, but I'm small.
Sure.
So there's always going to be that little, those little verbal razors.
From the inmates, obviously.
Yeah. And from my partners. But it's funny.
My superiors.
No, but it's funny when it's from my partners because we just go back and forth, and it's great, man. Nothing but cobras are just spitting poison at each other. But it's
awesome.
funny, it's just the culture
the
that we
camaraderie,
have, blah blah blah, whatever. But yeah, and I'm pretty witty, and I double down on the on their language, and more often than not, I get the upper hand. But that's not my job, and that's like I was saying, that's a reflection of how separated I am from the path of, and I don't even want to call it righteousness, but it's not that. Like if I'm not praying, my soul is not on the right path, and it shows. Like I was telling Adrian, like it's not necessarily that I'm gonna have a Bible study there all the time.
No,
because a lot of these gangsters don't give two damns about
of course
the word of the Lord.
Yeah.
But yeah, like giving you kudos, like you're our father figure to them.
Yeah, and going to thank you, and I it's crazy because like you with you, it's like you have that conception of like you're a Christian, so you got to turn your cheek and you got to be humble, but I mean, you can't really be doing that in the jails. You can't be turning your cheek. Oh, you can't. But you can't. You can't. You have to do your job. Like yes, you can still show forth Christ, but you have to show forth Christ authoritatively, right? Because of
times.
And in the sense that you're there to serve and protect and to basically lay down the order, because otherwise it won't go well in the jail.
It's more of a like an understanding that you have to have with them, because like, who am I just because I have I put on a costume that has certain patches on the shoulders, and because at the end of the day we're all men and we want respect. Now, if you disrespect me, I'm going to check you 100%. There's no other way to it. Like, I'm going to check you.
Yeah. And that's your job. That doesn't mean you're not a Christian or you're not living out your faith, right? I mean, just because, and that's, I'm being proud. No.
The point
false
over
conception,
here was, the point over here was like, and we were talking about this, that Christ flipped over tables and chased people out with a whip. He wasn't having a Bible study with them. He could have quoted scriptures, but that's not what they needed. And the thing is, we don't always know how to do that if we're not in prayer, if we're not living what we're supposed to be living. It's going to show in every dimension of our lives. And if we want to be like Christ in that respect, when we know when it is appropriate to turn over the tables, to chase them out with a whip, there is a way to turn the other cheek, because you can study the Bible and whatever. With whatever theologian, and some of them say that like, oh no, when you turn the other cheek, like that means that they have to slap you a certain way, and so like that makes them uncomfortable, or I can't remember exactly like what someone was saying about that. But if that's true, that it brings out your dignity to turn the other cheek, like how are we gonna basically do jujitsu with that and turn that rage against them in such a way that we're not the aggressors, but we're demanding that respect. And if we can't achieve that without being centered in God, and that's and it's not the end, like Ramon was saying earlier in that other quote. It's not just to get along, because what happens when we just aim to get along is that we raise up kids, we raise up young men in such a way that we don't really initiate them to where they need to be. We don't initiate them into a tribe. And this is an old African proverb that says young men need to be initiated into the village. Otherwise, they'll burn it down just to feel its warmth.
Yeah.
And we need to be those men that are willing to initiate the boys in ways that mom is not going to approve of. And that's the thing that we fear, because we are wild and we have that fire within, and those boys, those little babies, are going to grow up, and they have that fire from conception. Okay. And for us to control something when we know we haven't controlled it perfectly ourselves can be really intimidating. Really intimidating. But you said it. You said it at the beginning. Like you're loving him, and that's what they're going to know, and that's what they're going to pick up. They're not going to pick up on you being perfect, because that's impossible. We're not perfect. We're flawed men, and sometimes I'll raise my voice. Sometimes I'll be a little too forthcoming, especially because Tommy and I are the only boys in the house. Yeah. We're outnumbered by only one, but one is powerful, And so we need to be the ones that, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes we're going to raise our voice, and our voices are powerful, and they strike fear in the children's hearts. And they should, because that's an example of, this is the power that is within you. You are powerful, but you can use that power to destroy or to build up. And we need to bring them up to build up. And so in order to do that, we have to be the men that model how to build up ourselves and to pick up others.
I mean, ultimately, that's what God made us to be, right? Protectors. Right? I mean, you think about Adam and Eve and how Adam failed to protect Eve from the serpent, and hence sin entered the world, right? But you also think about how we're both created in the image of God, men and women, but yet we're very distinct, right? Very different, but both created in the image and likeness of God. And we both mirror God differently, his attributes differently. God, men mirror God's strength, his protection, his not so much revenge, but kind of like, this sense of like God will I guess avenge, right? Bring justice. There you go. Think his justice. That's it. That's exactly it. While women are more his compassion, his love, his mercy, and yet when they come together, man and woman, they mirror God perfectly, right? When they come together in that embrace, they reflect God perfectly. But yeah, I mean that's our call as men, is to protect our family, to guide our family, to instruct our family, just like God the Father guides us and instructs us. And it's not easy, obviously, but it's a wonderful vocation that we have as men. As I tell my students, because I teach at an all-boys school, like, this is your vocation. One day you're going to be fathers. One day you're going to have a little girl, a little boy, and one day you're going to be a husband and a father, obviously. Hopefully both at the same time. If not, that's, whatever may come. Most of you will be fathers, and most of you will be husbands. And, to the extent that you live out your vocation of being a good father, being a good husband, that is where your legacy will come from. And the ripples of your legacy. Because if you're a good father, then your children will grow up knowing that they're loved, grow up knowing who God is and how to fear God. But if you don't, right, because you're cheating on your wife or you're neglecting your children, then you're just going to perpetuate the vicious cycle in our society so often that I saw when I would go visit the juvenile halls. These young men who were completely broken, because they were neglected, because they didn't have a father, because, even forget not having a father, they had a father that beat them, that abused them, and it's horrific, and you don't even have to beat your child, right? It's interesting, like when I talk about loving your kids and being a good dad, like I look into my students' faces, and you could tell the ones that have a good relationship with their dad, and you could tell the ones that are like, you're like, they look like they're going to cry. And I'm like, I'm going to cry with you because, I'm reliving my past, right? And just saying this, that, I didn't have a good dad, and, I mean, I love my dad. I'm not trying to judge him and, God forgive him and I forgive him, whatever. But, just because somebody didn't love you or didn't know how to love you, how to give you a hug and tell you that he loves you, that you're special, that you're wonderful, and that God has a plan for you, that you shouldn't do the same thing for your child. You should, on the contrary, learn from the mistakes of your father, and take that into your relationship with your kids, and hopefully love them and embrace them. And I say embrace them because so often we're so afraid to hug our kids and love them, like kiss them and tell them show them that affection. And kids need that.
Yeah.
They need that affection. I mean, sure, the Spartans didn't touch their kids. They're brutal, man. They wouldn't like give any affection to the little boys to make them like completely stoic and not emotionless, so that obviously they could be warriors and killers. But I mean, we're not trying to breed those kind of men. Yes, we want our men to be strong, but we have such a misconception of what it means to be strong, right?
Yeah, I feel like we fail to, that for sure. Show them the affection that they need, but also to instill in them that comes with a big responsibility. We're supposed to be father figures, even if we're not biological fathers. There's so many people that are counting on us to take the handle on chaos. When the chaos erupts, who does society look to? The men, not the women. Women are wonderful. They're wonderful beings.
It's a different role, yeah.
But yeah, it's just a completely different role. Mm-hmm. Who do you want to be your bodyguard? Your wife or I don't know, who's a big, strong guy? Bautista, or John Cena, the Rock, or The Rock. 6 foot something man, muscular. Can probably beat most, the average bear up. Like, who do you want to take handle on a chaotic situation? A 5'2" woman or a 6'4" man? And I'll never be 6'4".
Me neither.
But through Christ,
I'm 7 feet tall.
I'm a hungry tiger, man, and I'll be damned if I let anything happen to my.
You're a David.
Yeah, it's just and that's the type of mentality that we need to harness. We're loved and we're special, and so are our children. Yeah, so what? What are you gonna do with all that love and all that specialness? We need to guide our young men and women. I'm being biased here because I have a little daughter. our young men and women, show society what a man is. Otherwise, you're gonna get people like Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner. Like, dude,
whatever his name is nowadays.
Yeah, God bless his heart. He's a very hurt individual, but that's not the way, dude. Just seek peace and love in the right way, because our sexuality it is not a way of life, and I feel like that's where we falter in our culture, where love is love, and it's like, no, love is not just love. We need to understand what love is, because love is such a lazy way of saying you can do whatever you want. God gave us our loins for a reason. It's only a mere reflection of the path that we're supposed to take. That's only the beginning. And it's a shame that a lot of people get lost in that, where we start counting the amount of women that we've had in our life.
The body count.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, why? Our sexuality is not... that's not the be-all, end-all. If we're going to be... Never mind. I'm talking too much, but...
No, it's good.
But,
that's good.
all that energy is meant to be with your wife to procreate life.
Sure.
And like I was telling Adrian...
But also to protect, like you were saying.
Yeah.
That's it. That's why God gave us that, to protect. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, yeah, but I mean, like I was telling Adrian, even before we started recording, like, I'm in the process of making things right. Not just because I'm Catholic, but she's Catholic. We're both practicing Catholics.
Sure.
And my baby that's not a mistake. We just got ahead of ourselves.
Amen, brother.
So my fiance and I are looking into marriage because we were going to get married anyway. We just got ahead of and had the baby.
Amen.
So now, as a man, I need to rectify this.
Yeah.
And do right by her, by them.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah, we have a misconception of we're the ones that make love. No, love makes us. And if love makes us, it's gonna make us into someone that we should be. Another thing that we should be doing is praying for each other. So, pray for us.
And we'll pray for you.
Ferrum.
Ferro.
Akator.
Hey, Rocky, can I get a oh yeah? I can't. All right, whatever.